Give it back. That money belongs to my father. During my father's funeral, I strongly demanded on the phone from Susanna, who had stolen $50,000 from the safe. It's impossible to return it. I've already spent it to pay off debts. You're kidding, right? It's true. If I knew it would come to this, I would have taken more money. Your father was a great ATM for me. I can't believe it. Oh, right. Maybe next time you can give us money. As the child of your father, if you act a little troubled and sweet talk, you'll give us money, right? Susanna said mockingly. My fists trembled with anger, ready to burst out. Don't joke! What a thing to say! Just when I was about to shout, my mother suddenly started laughing. Surprised by my mother's laughter, I stopped shouting. I even worried if she had gone mad from shock. Then after a hearty laugh, my mother immediately said, We have to thank Susanna. Please tell her we're grateful she took it. What did she mean by that? Hearing my mother's words, Susanna smugly said, I see, birds of a feather, huh? Well, thanks to that, I'm saved, and hung up the phone. I was filled with complex emotions. What was my mother thinking? At that moment, my mother said with a smile, Actually, about that money, my name's Amy. I work as a medical administrator and live with my parents. Even though we lead a normal life without luxuries, I feel happy just having my elderly parents in good health. Amy thought, I've come so far, haven't I? One sunny day, I was drinking coffee prepared by my mother, thinking about this. Our family faces more difficulties than others. The reason is known. It's because of my father's personality. My father is a typical good man, unable to ignore people in trouble. He accepts anything when asked. He often bought a lot of unnecessary things or lent money. The money lent often didn't come back, leading to financial hardships. Sometimes I even had to pay off my father's debts. Of course, I sometimes got angry or disappointed in my father, but now being able to live with my parents and drink coffee slowly is thanks to my mother. My mother is energetic and positive. Even when my father lends money or makes unnecessary purchases, she doesn't flinch. Even in debt repayment situations, she would be surprised but accept it, saying, No use worrying. While my father's actions troubled her, she always eventually forgave him. Well, I do wish he would stop. But that's the good part about your father. When my father was in debt for the second time, I appealed to my mother to change him. She shrugged and said, He's a born good person. Sometimes he gets deceived by bad people. Why can you accept everything? Because of Dad, we're shouldering other people's debts and always at a loss. But thanks to Dad's personality, we're also treated kindly by others and have many benefits. Unconvinced by my mother's words, I fell silent. Seeing me like this, my mother's tone changed entirely, as if she were talking to a friend. Look, think about it. Isn't it much better to be happy while being used, rather than abandoning people in need or using someone for happiness? It's fine. We as a family are living happily. That's what matters most. Amy thought, maybe that's true. I thought maybe I had inherited my father's kindness too. My mother's words had persuaded me. Influenced by my mother's perspective, I began to see the challenges caused by my father as quirky adventures, sometimes even as comedy. However, there was someone who just couldn't accept it. It was my older brother, Vincent. Vincent, 3 years my senior, was always irritated by our father's personality. I became tolerant of my father's nature thanks to my mother's words, but it seemed Vincent couldn't. As he grew older, his attitude worsened and he left home as soon as he entered university. He would suddenly return home and beg our father for money. This pattern continued even when Vincent became a working adult, got married, and even when our father turned 60. Now, in his mid-40s, Vincent still shows up out of the blue to wheedle money from our father. Despite my repeated attempts to persuade Vincent to stop, he never listened. What's wrong with accepting money he's offering to give? It's just making use of what's available. I'm not doing anything wrong. I couldn't hide my anger at his disdainful words about our father. When our father's debts made life tough and our mother struggled, she saved money, increased her part-time hours, and supported our family in every way possible. Yet, Vincent just extorted money from our father for leisure. Not only that, but Vincent's wife, Susanna, also encouraged him to get money from our father. Susanna wants a new brand bag. That's why I need the money. I didn't miss these casual words Vincent let slip after he got money and was in a good mood. Vincent and Susanna were of the same breed. They didn't feel any guilt for deceiving and using others. Their priority was their own lavish lifestyle. I was furious that our father was being exploited by my brother and his wife, but father wasn't going to change easily. Next time Vincent visited, father would probably give him money again. Amy thought, all right, it's up to me to support here. With this resolve, I continued to live with my parents. But then a significant trial hit our life, which had overcome many difficulties. My father was diagnosed with cancer. The diagnosis was bile duct cancer. Often asymptomatic in the early stages, it's usually advanced by the time it's detected. By the time my father felt pain and got tested, it was already stage 4. Despite ongoing treatment, his condition only worsened. For a few months after the diagnosis, my father could live at home, but eventually he had to be hospitalized. My mother never left his side, supporting him with her inherent cheerfulness. I'm truly sorry for all the trouble I've caused and now this situation. Don't worry about it. Thanks to your hospitalization, we don't have sudden deliveries of bulk items anymore, and I'm a bit relieved. In the hospital room, my mother made such jokes to make my father laugh. However, as soon as she stepped out of the room, she would always be in tears. Seeing that, I realized the strength of my parents' bond. Thinking of what I could do, my brother Vincent came to mind. Even though he rarely came home and only asked for money, family is family. Indeed, my parents always seemed happy when Vincent occasionally returned. They would be happy if Vincent visited them. Thinking this, I tried to contact Vincent, but no matter how many emails I sent, there was no reply. Unable to hold back, I tried calling Vincent, and he shocked me with his words. Is this really my brother? I even doubted our relationship. So that's hospitalized, huh? Means he's got no money, right? Why would I bother visiting if there's no money to get him? Despite our father's critical condition, he was only thinking about money. I felt deeply disappointed. In such a situation, unable to persuade my brother and unable to do anything for my parents, I was painfully aware of my powerlessness. Meanwhile, my father's condition continued to worsen. About 2 weeks after his hospitalization, with my mother and I watching over, my father passed away. In the end, my mother acted cheerfully in front of him, thinking of the resolve behind her smile weighed heavily on my heart. Even she, upon hearing of my father's death from the doctor, cried in my arms. Yet, my mother was strong. After stopping her tears, she said, "All right," and wiped them away. Then, with a smile, she told me, "We're going to be busy from now on." After my father's death, as my mother said, we were busy with the wake, funeral, and other arrangements. As the days hurriedly passed, the day of the funeral came. Vincent and Susanna, who hadn't appeared even at the wake the previous day, were nowhere to be seen just before the funeral, and of course, there was no contact from them. At the end of the ceremony, when a relative spoke to my mother about Vincent, she responded with a wry smile. Seeing this, my anger towards my brother grew. When I returned home with this anger, an even more shocking sight awaited me. The safe at home was open and its contents were completely gone. There were no signs of ransacking in the other rooms or around the safe. Staring at the scene with my mother, I instinctively knew it was Vincent's doing. "Brother, what are you doing?" As soon as the phone connected, I shouted with a trembling voice in anger. But it wasn't Vincent who answered. It was my sister-in-law, Susanna. "What? You're so noisy." "Susanna, where's my brother?" "Vincent is busy, so what? If you don't have anything to say, can I hang up?" Susanna's tone was clearly annoyed. My anger rose further at her attitude. "You took the money from our house safe, didn't you?" When I asked calmly, Susanna, without any sign of disturbance, answered nonchalantly. The $50,000 from the safe? It's not like we stole it, we just took it." "What are you talking about? Taking it without permission is the same as stealing. What are you thinking? Not even showing up at my father's funeral?" "Well, if we had gone to the funeral, there would have been no one there, right? It would have been a hassle with you all making a fuss." Susanna showed no remorse. Realizing that talking further was pointless, I demanded straightforwardly, filled with anger, "Please return the money. It belongs to my father." But Susanna's reply left me speechless. "Return the money? That's impossible. We'll already use it to pay debts. We don't have a single penny now. Can't return what we don't have." "What?" "I should have taken more when I had the chance. Really, he was such a convenient ATM for us." "What to do now, I wonder." "What are you?" "Oh, right. Maybe next time you can give us money. As the child of your father, if you act a little troubled and sweet talk, you'll give us money, right?" Laughing, Susanna said that. At those words, I couldn't contain my anger anymore. My fists clenched tightly. "Hey, enough with the jokes." Just when I was about to explode with anger, my mother, who had been listening to the phone call, suddenly burst into laughter. I lost a moment to express my anger due to her unexpected laughter. Could it be that she had lost her sanity due to the shock? I was surprised and even worried about my mother's behavior. Then, after laughing for a while, my mother said, "We must thank Susanna. Tell her we're grateful she took it." Irritated by Susanna's absurd actions and words, and now by my mother too, my anger boiled over. Amy thought, "What is she saying? How can she stay silent even when we're being used like this?" I tried to confront my mother by saying, "Mom, what do you mean?" But she just answered me with a smile. "It's okay. It's okay." Perhaps pleased by my mother's reaction, Susanna said, "Looks like you're a similar couple." "Thanks to you, we were saved," and hung up the phone. I was enveloped in complex emotions. Seeing my expression, my mother began to speak with a smile. "Actually, about that money, that means..." I was surprised by my mother's words, but then I understood her previous thank you. A few days later, my brother and his wife suddenly came to our house and rang the doorbell loudly. My mother, as if expecting them, calmly said, "Yes, yes," and opened the door to greet them. "Hey, what's this about? Why is this being sent to me? It must be some mistake." Vincent, red with anger, thrust a demand letter at my mother. Ignoring Vincent's anger, my mother answered as if nothing happened. "That's a notice of the debts left by your father." "What? Why would my father's debt notice come to me?" "Because you two took the $50,000, we couldn't make this month's payment. It's natural for a demand letter to arrive once the payment deadline is missed, right?" My mother responded calmly. Surprised by this unexpected fact, Vincent raised his voice in indignation. "That's not my problem. Why is it coming to me in the first place? If it's Dad's debt, it should go to the family home." "Vincent, you inherited Dad's estate, right? So the demand letters are sent to you." "Don't decide such things on your own. I'm not inheriting any debts," Vincent shouted angrily, but my mother remained calm. That's not possible. We've already renounced our inheritance." "Huh? You intend to inherit the estate, right?" "Amy and I have renounced our inheritance, so all of Dad's estate goes to you." "All of it? Is that true? You use Dad's estate, right? That's seen as an intention to inherit. Well, let's skip the difficult parts to explain." My mother continued quietly, but Vincent seemed not to comprehend her words. Realizing he could inherit everything, Vincent was clearly elated, and Susanna couldn't hide her smirk. They both, as a couple, completely misunderstood the situation. My mother continued in the same tone. "It's really helpful, Vincent inheriting the estate. Just before Dad got sick, he had taken on someone else's debt again. There's hardly any estate left, just debts and this house." "Huh? What do you mean?" Vincent and Susanna's voices rose simultaneously. The two, who had always extorted money from my father, never imagined he had no money left. Susanna, unable to hide her panic, spoke before the flustered Vincent. "Wait a minute, we inherited the estate? Taking on debt isn't inheritance. We're being deceived." Anger and haste mixed in Susanna's rapid speech. To this, my mother responded calmly. "Inheriting an estate includes negative assets too. It's bad to say you didn't know. Not just the debt, but this house too is Vincent's." "What good is this house? It sells nothing. Vincent would have renounced it if he knew this would happen. You two escaped the debt and don't even tell us." "Huh? We couldn't tell you because you never returned calls or showed up, even when your father was hospitalized and after he passed. Besides, who took the money from the safe without permission first?" My mother maintained her smile, but an aura of anger emanated from her. She was genuinely angry. I had never seen her, always cheerful and kind, this angry before. Vincent sensed her anger and quickly apologized. Mom, I was wrong. I'll somehow return the $50,000 I stole from the safe. Please let me renounce the inheritance too. Wait, Vincent, how are you going to come up with such a huge amount? We don't have a penny left. Shut up, be quiet. You don't get a say in this. While they argued, Vincent soon turned to me. Hey, tell Mom, and you too, Amy, please don't abandon your brother. You can't just ignore a family member in trouble, right? Tears appeared in Vincent's eyes, but my heart remained unmoved. Dad was a hopeless good person, right? But he never betrayed people or stole to strangle himself in trouble. Maybe I inherited Dad's good nature, but I can't listen to selfish requests like yours. I'm not that foolish. Hey, wait, are you going to abandon your only brother? Vincent, you reap what you sow. Even your father knew to take responsibility for his actions. Vincent pleaded desperately, but my mother coldly pushed him away. Her stern words left Vincent confused and motionless. Seeing Vincent silent, I decided the conversation was over and opened the door to enter the house with my mother. That's when Susanna suddenly raised her voice. Wait a minute! How can you leave a family in trouble? I don't consider someone who calls my dear father an ATM as family. Well, that's... Susanna was shaken by my words and lost her speech. I sternly said to her, if you intend to stay here any longer, I'll call the police. The safe is as it was, so it'll be easy to prove you two are the culprits of the robbery. Wait a minute! If you don't want to become criminals, don't get involved with us again. Leave now. Unable to bear the burden of huge debts and the prospect of becoming criminals, they hurriedly left. After that, Vincent, burdened with his own debts, and now our father's, seemed to be in financial trouble. Even after selling the family home, the old house didn't fetch a good price, and the land didn't amount to as much as expected. Later I learned Vincent quit his job right after Dad's death, believing Dad had left a large inheritance. But once he knew only debts remained, he tried to return to his job. However, his previous unserious attitude led to his company refusing to rehire him. Susanna, too, was saddled with debts and unable to get her life back on track. As a result, she couldn't bring herself to divorce Vincent, struggling with debts. Currently, they are juggling multiple part-time jobs, working day and night, but their journey to pay off debts is still long. Meanwhile, my mother and I found a moderately sized apartment and started a new life. My mother regained her brightness and, with newfound free time, immersed herself in various hobbies. Her sociability in making friends quickly in a new town is truly admirable. My mother is well respected and loved by those around her. Seeing her like this, I sincerely aspire to live a strong and positive life like hers.